What's going on, everyone? It's Sean from All Things EV, and I've got Sandy Munro back on the channel to talk about his findings of the Model Y. Now, you've probably been following his new channel. Officially, congratulations, Sandy, you're a YouTuber. How does it feel to be a part of the club?
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, people won't recognize me. Hang on a second. This is what I really look like. Oh, yeah, now I know who he is. Yeah.
It's been fun to follow the progression as you tear down the car. I think it's a brilliant idea to document this and get into the mind of what you're thinking as you're taking apart the vehicle. You've been very complimentary of the Model Y. I'm surprised actually that I haven't heard more criticism from you. Is that because it's a really good car and a market improvement over the Model 3 in your opinion?
Well, I've already made a few comments about what I don't like. But before we do that, I have to do something. I cannot take credit for starting this up on YouTube. So on the Model 3, Alistair, my son, he really wanted us to do what we're doing now. But he lives in Canada, and everybody thought it was a waste of time. You know, we're engineers here. We don't do that stuff. So anyway, he thought it was a waste. Everyone else thought it was a waste of time, and we dropped it. So my new president, Corey Steuben, he also thought it was a good idea, and so the reason that this has all happened is because of him and the seed that was planted by Alistair. So there you go. So now you know everything. It's not me that had this brilliant idea. It was two other guys.
It's your great team. It's the team that makes things work. So I'm glad that you're able to give them some credit for that. So fantastic.
So let's talk about what I don't like. There are a number of things on the Y that I don't care for. Number one on the hit parade probably is that paint job. I really don't know why. Again, maybe they'll see this on here, but they really need to contact somebody who knows and can help them out, and I mean really knows, not a great big giant organization. There's one guy in North America, actually North America and in Europe, actually even in China, that when people run into problems with paints, that's the guy that they call. His name is Mike Tracy. Mike Tracy. I'm not getting paid by him, but I highly recommend that they get a hold of him. I mean, the paint is full of dirt. I don't know why it's got that orange peel. I mean, we saw it. We didn't care for the paint job on the Model 3, and we thought that this should be picked up, but I mean, before we started tearing anything apart, I rubbed my hand across and I said, "Hey, what's this?" And you could feel the dirt inside, you know, underneath the paint. Mr. Musk really needs to do something about that. There are a lot of other things I've pointed out as we've torn apart the car, and I said, "Well, this is no good," or "That's not." The other one actually is that hood component. We rolled the blue car off the truck, brought it in, and that thing's broken on one side, and on the other side it won't connect. I mean, get rid of it. It's too flimsy. Either throw it out and forget it. Maybe you don't even need it. Just don't put it on and call it a day. But that thing is nothing but extra weight with no value. So I would just either ditch it completely, or I would find something that actually works. And I gave a suggestion on that too. And there's other couple of things that I didn't care for. But all in all, it was easy to find problems with the Model 3. It's a lot more difficult to find problems with the Model Y. Some people have said, "Oh, you must be getting paid by Elon." Let's just let that to rest right now. I haven't gotten any money from Tesla. Actually, I haven't gotten any money from anybody just yet. Everybody's holding off buying the reports and whatnot. So all you OEMs out there, we're selling and hopefully you're buying. I think that we'll get a lot of responses from the Japanese. They're the ones who, they bought everything last on the Model 3, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be just as excited about the Model Y.
Yeah, so you purchased these vehicles independently through probably a broker. Tesla doesn't give it to you. You pay full price and some probably to get these vehicles, and now you've got 2 Model Ys.
Right. One is mine, and one is ours, Munro and Associates. The other one belongs to another company called Auto Datas. It's a Chinese company. They had purchased the car, but unfortunately their operation, I don't know whether it shut down or fell apart or what have you, but anyway, they had no place to put it, so they shipped it to us. We've known them from China. And so we have the Model Y, and what we're going to, or their Model Y, the blue one. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send that out for testing, and we'll sell the test results to our customers, and they'll sell the test results to their customers. And
what kind of testing are you referring to exactly?
oh, this would be performance testing, you know, the characteristic testing, driving, you know, the HVAC stuff. So I want to know about the noises and things like that.
So you won't be tearing this one apart, but you will be driving it to analyze it.
That's correct, yeah. So it'll go to a track somewhere.
And will you be documenting that too? Because that would be really interesting. Okay, good.
That'll be documented, but that gets touchy. It depends on who we sell that data to. Normally, customers don't want that in the public domain. They want to know about it, but they don't want us to talk too much about it. Actually, I've already had people coming back saying, "Yeah, you're giving away too much." But the real data is in the material science. Tesla is vastly different than everybody else. I worked at Ford. We had a scientific research lab. We had metal facility. We didn't create metals. That's unique. But Tesla is creating their own aluminums. They're doing things with materials that we never heard of before, and that's one of the things that's slowing us down. Actually, we know that the motor casings, the aluminum motor casings, have got additives that we don't see ever, like alloys that we don't see.
Is that for weight reduction purposes?
No. I don't know what it's for. I can tell you that some of it's refractive, so that it means that if a signal comes toward it, it sends it right back again, and again we get back into the PM motor in the back. Is it synchronous reluctance or is it switch reluctance? And it doesn't have an odd number of poles, so that would make it synchronous reluctance. But some people are. It's a big argument. I don't know. I can only tell you that the inverter converter has to be different, because whatever's going on in there moves way faster. That's why they've got the carborundum chips instead of silicon. That's why they're doing what they're doing. But anyway, we're looking at that, and right now we've got four electronics engineers looking at the inverters, converters, and one poor guy drew the black marble. He's looking at the ADAS system, which he's reported back that it'll be done in 6 months. No, he told me 6 weeks. I'm hoping he's just exaggerating, but 6 weeks. It's a very complicated costing exercise.
Is that because he's digging into the software piece of it, or is he just looking at the hardware?
No, there's people who claim they can do software, and maybe they can, but I can't. I can tell you a lot about the board itself, and from that, people can take a guess at how the software works. But reverse engineering software is not something that we've ever claimed we could do. We have software packages that we develop for us, and we can reverse engineer the characteristics, like on the Octo Valve. We're not going to be showing that on the videos, but the Octo Valve, we've reverse engineered that, so we know when certain valves would open and close and why they would do it and that sort of thing. So that's kind of that's going to be a report into itself.
I want to ask you about the Octo Valve because I did have a chance to test out the Model Y. I noticed that the heat pump is really loud. Now you say that they're going to add a shroud over that, but is the Octo Valve in this heat pump as innovative as Elon and Tesla are saying?
It is, but if you had a very loud heat pump, the chances are high that it was cavitating, and that's what you heard, was air bubbles inside that thing. So I've already talked to a couple of people who have had problems with noise associated with their heat pump, and what wound up happening was they found out that the heat pump had issues, and it was taken to pieces, and they replaced a couple of O-rings, replaced the valve or something, and then the problem went away. I think what you're hearing is cavitation, which would mean that that's not going to survive long if it's noisy.
It was a consistent hum, mostly when I turned the heater on high, so it was probably working at its top end, but it was noticeable, and it was a different sound than anything that I've ever heard from other Tesla models.
Yeah, well, I can tell you for sure that two of the guys, they said that they wanted to know what was going on, and I assumed that it was the heat pump was just noisy, and on the Model 3 they put a shroud around the compressor, and I thought, well, they'll just put a shroud around it. But then I found out that some people, they don't have any noise at all, and then I started getting suspicious, and then we had a couple of people say that, you know, this thing's really noisy. And one guy had gone so far as to wrap a towel around it or a scarf or something. And I said, you know what, you need to take that back and tell them that it's noisy and tell them there's something wrong. And mention that I said, I think there's air inside the system. And one guy just sent me his things back, and he said they replaced an O-ring and something else, and then they put it all back together, and he said there's no noise at all, none. It works great. So I think that the evacuation and charging parts, maybe inside of Tesla's factory, need some serious looking at.
It seems like there's this consistent thing popping up with quality control at Tesla. Whether it's with the welding, I watched one of your videos where there was just some unusual welding or excess after welding, and then you've got the paint quality as well as some of these other things. It sounds like maybe there's an opportunity there for them to emphasize quality as it's rolling off the line and into customers' hands.
Yeah, everybody, in fact, every car company does their best to make the best product they can with the equipment that they've got. And I don't really understand why something like evacuation would be a problem, evacuation and fill for the heat pump. You have to do the same things for the brakes. It's easier because you can bleed brakes, but you do the same thing for brake systems, for air conditioning systems and whatnot. You can't have bubbles. Bubbles are your enemy. You have to get rid of that stuff. So I think that they need to look at that. The paint is unexcusable. I mean, really, that's not something that you should allow. You need to do a good job with paint. It's what people touch and what people feel and what people see. That's what you got to take care of. The tragedy is that the things you can't see on the Tesla are the things that we're the most amazed at. The motors, the electronics, every time we pull something out that is different or unique to the car, it's always under the skin. It's never on top of the skin, and that's what makes Tesla so unique, so special, as it were.
I know we've talked about this on previous videos, but it really seems to be that where Tesla has the advantage is this technology and software piece of it. They're just running circles around competitors in that sense. Yeah. The manufacturing, the actual art and science of manufacturing, it seems like they're still showing some immaturity there. Would you agree?
Yeah, I've said that before, but I will tell you as well. I never recommended the Model 3 to anybody, but I've already recommended the Model 3 to about a dozen people, or the Model Y, I should say, to a dozen people. And like I mentioned, I'm running some really long days here, so stuttering and going every once in a while, and saying the wrong word. It happens a lot with me lately. It's just it's really a struggle to try and get everything that we'd normally try and do up and running again. So yeah, but the Model Y, for people who are looking for an electric car and want to have something that I think is viable. Like, I haven't recommended any electric car up until the Y. I couldn't really see or justify why anybody would pay that much money to get something that either in the case of Tesla wasn't built all that well, or something like a Jaguar or an Audi or whatever. It just costs the moon, and I know that whatever goes wrong with it, they're going to get stiffed big time. So this is the first car that I've actually recommended that's an electric vehicle.
I spent about 4 hours with the vehicle maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I said in my review of it that I think it's the best vehicle that Tesla has ever made in many ways.
Yeah, so I've driven the S, the Y, the Model 3. I never drove the sports car, but I've driven all of them. And actually, that's back to the Octo bottle and the pump. You know what? We went on a ride and drive here a little while ago. They said, "Oh, take it for a spin, Sandy, and don't break it." So we went out and drove around. There was zero noise on that one. That has there's no question about it. That pump is working. That heat pump is working just fine. There's no noise whatsoever. And I should have mentioned that, but if you don't hear it, it's kind of, that's what you expect. But I think without a doubt, this is the best thing that they've turned out. I never really cared for the S or the. I mean, it was expensive, and I just didn't see me driving around in it. But the Model Y, it's not my kind of car. I have a Rubicon. It's different, totally different thought process for that. But for people who want an electric car, I can't think of anything that I won't. I don't recommend anything except that. I've never recommended anything, period. And now I'm recommending that one if people want an electric car.
I think that speaks volumes. Yeah. So you've had a lot of experience with automotive in looking at vehicles to a very detailed level. You've quickly become the de facto knowledge expert for electric vehicles and Teslas in particular. You probably know Tesla's, you're the most knowledgeable person outside of Tesla, I would say, that has as deep of a knowledge, if not more, about their vehicles. You do work with you do these similar things with other vehicles, correct? Or you're working with and for other automotive companies. You're not just a Tesla teardown guy.
No, we probably look at 30 cars a year, maybe more, but 30 is about a good number. And we look at every detail. For that, those kinds of analysis, those are done for OEMs that really, really want to know what it costs, a true cost. We call it should costing. and that's what we're very good at. That's what we're known for. The other thing that happens is we'll actually analyze products for customers, their cars, and what we'll do is tear them to pieces and look for how can we improve the quality, how can we reduce the cost, how can we make it so that it's easier for the guys on the assembly line to put it together. Where are the features and functions that we can add to the car that won't cost any money? I mean, in a lot of cases, if you have a plastic part, it's not hard to change the design a little bit and add a new feature that makes it cheaper. You don't have to buy a clip, or you wouldn't have, for instance, juice boxes on the minivan or the Pacifica now. It's a piece of cake to add those kinds of things if you're at the design. We work with most people when they're designing the cars, but others have sent them to us after it hits the marketplace and they're not making any money, or they're getting a lot of dissatisfaction from their customers. We do it faster than everybody else, and there's no politics here. So, like you were saying, you're saying nice things about Tesla. Well, we don't. We'll say some nice things, but we're not going to hold back on the bad things either. And that's what people are hiring us for, is honesty. If we don't sell integrity, we sell nothing. I mean, really, that's the way it works. So we look at about 30 cars a year. Some of them are electric. Most are ICE vehicles. And then you get the spectrum as well. So we range from trucks to cars to SUVs, whatever. Anything you can imagine, we look at pretty much every day.
So there's been two things that I know you were really looking forward to, and Elon Musk really talked up in terms of innovation of the Model Y. One of them was the 70 to 2 pieces, the casting of the rear end of the vehicle, and the other one was the wiring in terms of reducing the reduction of the wiring. Did they deliver on those things in your opinion?
Okay, so if you're talking about the casting, there's actually 30 parts in the casting. So there's 2 major castings, there's 2 aluminum cast brackets, and then there's a bunch of bolts, okay? And those bolts count in our estimation. And the 70 parts, if you talk major parts, even that might be a low number. I think there's hundreds of parts that they've eliminated to go to 30 parts, and that doesn't include the spot welds. Let me rephrase that, not just spot welds, welds in general. On the Model 3, there are a zillion, that's a big number, but anyways, there's so many spot welds, and then laser welds, and then on top of that, they got self-piercing rivets, and on and on and on, and then they changed directions. I couldn't believe it. But this, 30 parts for a third quarter of for a third of the car, for the rear third of the car, that's a staggering good idea. They did a fantastic job on that. But it's 30 jars. There's bolts involved and things like that, and that doesn't count the spot welds, and it doesn't count the sealing, the adhesives, and the sealing systems that they've had to put in. So it's a very, very, very good design. They can be very proud of what they've cranked out, and I can hardly wait to see what happens when they get rid of the 2 major castings and the 2 small castings and go to the 1 big casting. I have no idea. Well, let me rephrase that. I know who the company is that's going to manufacture the molding equipment, and I don't know who's building the dies, but I'll find out eventually, and that'll be quite an achievement for them.
Is this large body casting something that's unique to Tesla? Have they developed this idea on their own, or is this common practice in automotive and Tesla's just catching up?
It's not common practice, but Cadillac has used it, Jaguar, Audi, several companies, BMW, several companies have used things similar to that, but not not quite like that, okay? Usually you see castings for the upper shock tower and things like that. You know, it's a clever way of getting a lot of function for not so much money, and it's lighter. I can die cast that, so it's quite a bit lighter than what I would have if I was welding a bunch of steel parts together. So it's just a very, very good idea from a manufacturing standpoint.
And so this wiring, Elon talked about reducing wiring from, you know, what was it, like 1,500 meters or something like that, down to 100 meters of wiring. Did that end up happening?
No, let's. I think it's about 1.5 kilometers that he was talking about. So that's what's in his car, which is not much basically for a car. That's a short bunch of harnesses. But he said he was going to drop it down to 700 meters, which is about half. Now I said millimeters on a video, and wow, it's amazing, you know. First off, I don't know if you're aware of it. Everything's done on one take. We don't go back. There's no script or anything. It's kind of, Sandy, talk about this and this and this, and then there's a clip or a flipboard. There's none around here right now, but there'll be a flip chart, and it'll have a bunch of bullet points on it, and that's it. That's it. We don't time for this. We spend 15 minutes tops, and that's tops, on these videos. We haven't got time for. I mean, we're trying to make money here. So anyway, when we get all done, it is what it is. But boy, it got jumped on. And then, you know, while we're on wiring, 700 meters, it didn't get to that. Not at all. We don't see any reduction really in the wiring. They maybe were going to go to, there's a lot of different things that they could have gone to, but whatever they were going to, they didn't bother. Okay, so I think Brandon's going to show you what one of the flip charts looks like. But anyway, and that's just the bullet points, so that I can remember. And the one he gave you is probably the most detailed. He's going to show you that in one of the other clips. But anyway, that's the most detailed that I would get. More often than not is suspension, or this, and that's it. I don't have time. We just don't have time. But while we're on the thing there for the wire, the other one was the bottle of whiskey, the empty bottle of whiskey. We thought it was hilarious. I mean, when I was interviewed by Third Row, Tesla Third Row or whatever, they were drinking wine. Those buggers are all drinking wine. And I can see them all. It comes up on your screen. And I said, well, what's with this? You guys are drinking wine and I got nothing. So we do drink here every once in a while. And so we had that fifth of Canadian Club, and so we dragged it out. And after the thing was over, during the thing, I took a small drink once. But after it was done, we thought, hey, it's a good idea, let's celebrate. So we had, I don't know, maybe a half or a third of a bottle. So we had a toast and finished it off. And then I got the bright idea of, hey, we don't have an Easter egg for this, because we have one in almost every one of the different things. There's something. So initially people said, oh, well, we don't see an Easter egg. Well, look harder. There's Easter eggs in every one of them. But they came back initially and said, oh, the Easter eggs are too easy to find. Okay, watch this. And so that's kind of like what we were doing now. They're very hard to find. And we just put the bottle in there for like an Easter egg. And I was supposed to make mention, oh, this is the bottle that from Third Row Tesla, but I forgot. Anyway, we gave that to one of our patrons. So if you're a patron, you get presents from Munro, and that was one of them, the empty bottle.
I love it. I think that's great. I want to transition to costs. I know you haven't fully put all the cost analysis together, but what is your preliminary take on cost? You know, Tesla talked about using 75% of the Model 3 parts in the Model Y. Are you seeing some market improvement in costs?
Okay, so we've looked at, we heard about that, and we were looking to see a lot more commonality than we did. So I think we're very critical, and so consequently, we're not seeing, and I think it was just 70%. And we're not seeing that that number coming up because there are a number of parts that have changed. It's not just all the same. And we're not 100% sure that 70% of the parts are the same, but maybe from a costing standpoint, 70% of the cost is about the same, and then that could be it. I don't know how it was put into context. I didn't see or hear that. Sorry, this mask makes my nose itch continuously. But anyway, we didn't see that. So consequently, we're not 100% sure. We're almost done, and I've asked everybody to give me their views and stuff like that. I know there was a couple of things that had changed on the. They look the same, but they're not the same. On the suspension system, the electric motors, like the front motor is, the whole rotor is totally different. There's nothing the same on that rotor. It's cast aluminum where it used to be copper. And it might be that they've made these running changes and they've taken that 70% number off of an existing Model 3. Well, I don't have one. I only have one of the old ones. So there's a lot of things in there. But for us, looking at this car versus the old car, the Model 3, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. They could have implemented some of those things into the Model 3, the current Model 3s rolling off the line, and maybe that's how they came up with that number. But it appears to be that sharing parts like that was a really great idea in terms of getting the product out sooner. And as we discussed previously, it's turned out to be a really fantastic car. Far, in my opinion, far better than the Model 3. Better storage, better headroom for me in particular, better leg room in the second row. You've got the range as well. You've got the glass roof. I mean, these are some things that I really appreciated as I spent some time with it. Maybe we'll go ahead and wrap up. I've got one more question, then I want to give you a chance to sort of plug whatever you want to. What's the next EV going to be for you that you purchase and tear down? Is the Porsche Taycan a potential consideration?
The Porsche is very expensive, and I'm really not sure what we get out of it. The 800 volts, that's what I'd like to know more about, but the rest, I don't think so. It's a lot of money to spend to see a very small amount of what I'd like to know about. What I would like to know is maybe what your viewers have to say. What would they like to see? I mean, we've asked that a couple of times, and we get back, we'd like to see a comparison between the F-150, the Dodge, or sorry, not the Dodge, but the Ram 1500 and Silverado. Okay. For us, I mean, we know exactly what those things are. We could do something. We wouldn't even have to take them all to pieces. We've already looked at those cars three times. So maybe we could do that. But I don't know how interested people would be in it. I don't know. Personally, the one that I voted for was maybe we should go in and have a look at the Toyota Mirai. That's got a fuel cell in it. Very few people know anything about fuel cells, but hydrogen is the most plentiful substance in the universe, period, in the universe. So we won't ever run out of that, ever. I would like to do something on that, but it's hard to say whether anybody would be interested. It's deep, and there's lots of chemistry and math involved in how the fuel cell in the Toyota Mirai works. But I can tell you, with working with Ballard, best we got was 0.8 volts per cell, whereas the Mirai gets 1.2 volts per cell. That's a pretty big difference, and we don't know how they did it, but we do know that eventually you're going to have probably electric cars and fuel cells, hydrogen cars. You know, why not jump into that, you know, like now? People are afraid of hydrogen. I don't know why, but they seem to be they got the fear of the Hindenburg or something. But I think that that would be one that I'd like to do, but that's only because I'm an engineer. No one would probably be all that interested. But what do your viewers say? If you could pass along that, let the viewers tell you what it is, and we can make that. We'll make something happen.
Yeah, put it in the comments down below as you're watching this video. What would you like to see analyzed? Could be an electric vehicle, could be a gas vehicle. I think you might, Sandy, have some traction with electric vehicles. I don't know very many people who are doing what you're doing, and so, yeah, you know, any of the Hyundai or Kia EVs, I'd be really curious to see, because they're quite efficient, and for the price point, I think that they've really put out some pretty fantastic products in terms of price point and range. Yeah. So that's my vote.
Okay, well, one of the other ones that we got surprised at was we had some people in Japan that asked us to analyze the Nissan Leaf. And we had looked at the Leaf before, but they were willing to pay for it, so fine. So we bought, we didn't buy the whole Leaf, we just bought the inverter converter and electric motor and gearbox. And when we tore it apart, we were very surprised. That's one of the ones that's, the Leaf is one of the 3 motors that people are looking at, because it's got different characteristics. We didn't show any of the green cloth and whatnot that we normally would put on a PM motor, but when we did that particular motor, we were shocked at the flux ring that you get. Didn't look like anything we've ever seen before. Maybe we could do something on that, but people like to see the whole car. And again, the only thing that looks really different on the Leaf would be the electric motor, gearbox, and whatever, and inverter converter. So, but I'd like to find out.
Well, maybe you can get your hands on a Taycan battery and motor, and not the entire car. That'd be interesting to me. I'd be really curious for you to dig into that one.
I'll definitely got it on the list. It is on the list right now.
So you're selling some parts of the Model Y that you've torn down, and of course you've got reports as well that will be available to automakers and those interested in the detailed analysis. But why don't you tell those who are watching how they can find these things? Yeah,
if you go to Munro Live, the video website, there'll be something there that says products for sale or parts for sale. Click on that and you can have a look, and all the prices are there. One that's not there, but we just put it up, is the bat that I used to smash that window. And you'd be surprised what people really and truly want. Like when we found the one piece of foam, a guy, I mean, he phoned in, I'll pay anything. So he got that. When I made the mistake, we called it what did I call it? Bembro or something like that instead of Brembo. And that guy wanted he wanted the brake caliper that I was holding up. So we have a couple of things that are for sale, but there's a ton of other things that if you saw it and you want it, and we've got 2 of them, we'll sell one. The other thing is I happen to know that there's a bunch of a bunch of Munro Live things. Actually, I'm going to be probably buying something for my my new daughter, my daughter-in-law. One of them, she wears, she likes to wear sweatpants, and so they have the sweatpants with the Munro Live on it. They got T-shirts and cups and mugs and all kinds of stuff. So there's things out there that you can buy, and then there's other things like the table that I'm sitting at. We'll take a picture of it for you, but these tables are really handy. And it's the Tesla Model 3 wheel. So we only have 2 of them. We have to save 2 of the wheels, and the other 2 wheels are for sale. From the Model Y, yeah. And you'd get a new glass top because this one's been all scratched up. But in essence, we have the tire. Let me just borrow this thing here. Can I get it out without wrecking anything? Never mind. I don't want to. That's okay. Let it go. Anyways, it's got the cap for the wheel. That sits in the middle of the glass, or it's not glass. It's plexiglass top. It's round, and you can. We use them for. We use them for maybe the casual libation at the end of the day, or some folks have played cards at them and things like that. So it's, what is that, about, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet in diameter. You can seat, easy, you can seat 4 people, 6 people. It's a little cozy, but yeah. And then the other one is a stand-up bar table, high boy. So there's a lot of things that are out there that we'd like to try and sell right now, because quite frankly, there's virtually no money coming in. So so if you've got a burning desire to have something from a Tesla Model Y, let us know, and we will do our best to accommodate you.
Great. I love it, and I think it's a smart idea.
Oh, by the way, we got a ton of stuff from the Model 3 as well. If you're a Model 3 owner and you want bits and pieces, we can sell those at a greatly reduced price. Yeah.
Great. Sandy, thanks so much for coming on, taking the time to share your takeaways. Always great to catch up with you, and I'm looking forward to the next electric vehicle that you tear down.
Excellente. Well, we'll be here for you. As soon as I find out what it is, I will get back to you, Sean.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Sandy. Have a good day.